So today, we're not going to get bogged down in, abstract legal theories. We're going to get real. We're talking about the actual consequences that happen when there's no estate plan. And look, the point here isn't to scare you, but to show you just how preventable these so-called worst-case scenarios really are. Okay, let's dive right into this, because this quote, it's the single most important idea we're going to cover. It is the foundation for everything else. Seriously, forget about all the complicated stuff you think causes problems. The real danger? It's just having no instructions at all. The issue isn't really that people have these super messy, complicated lives that are impossible to plan for. The real problem, the one that causes all the chaos and the heartache for the people you love, is the simple, total absence of a plan. It's that complete lack of direction. That's what creates the real mess. All right, to make this really hit home, let's walk through 5 super common and completely preventable scenarios that families face all the time. And it's all because there were simply no instructions left behind. First up is a situation that honestly happens way too often, and this one, it hits a family's finances right when they are at their absolute most vulnerable. So this is the classic case where the money exists, it's right there in the bank, but nobody can touch it. It's an absolute logistical nightmare that pops up right in the middle of an emotional crisis. I mean, can you just imagine the stress? You're grieving, and on top of that, you literally can't get to the money you need for a funeral or even just to pay the bills. And all of this whole nightmare, is because of one simple, tiny oversight. The family's left buried in paperwork and stuck waiting on the courts just to access what was already theirs. Okay, so scenario number 2, we're moving away from just the financial side of things and into something that can honestly be way, way worse: the emotional damage. See, without any clear instructions, your family, who love you and mean well, they're left to, well, guess. And let me tell you, when people have to guess what you would have wanted, that's a recipe for conflict. It happens almost every single time. And here's the thing that's so important to get about this. This isn't usually about greed. It's about the weight of not knowing. The ambiguity is the real problem. Every person genuinely thinks they're doing what you would have wanted, and that disagreement can push relationships to the breaking point, sometimes for good. All right, number 3. This one's about a crisis that can just pop up in an instant. A moment where having clarity isn't just nice to have, it is absolutely everything. So, what happens when you physically can't speak for yourself? If there are no instructions, the people who love you the most are put in this just agonizing position, trying to make these huge decisions completely in the dark. So, you've got this high stakes moment. Family members might not agree on what to do, doctors are trying to figure out who's legally in charge, and this all happens during a medical emergency when every second counts. And a single piece of paper, one simple document, could have cleared all that up and brought some peace of mind. Okay, number 4. This one can be a little uncomfortable to talk about, but it's so real. This is what happens when a decision you made maybe years ago comes back to cause some serious, and I mean serious, unintended problems. This is the classic set it and forget it trap. I mean, think about it. Life changes, right? Relationships change. But if your legal documents don't change with them, oh boy, you're heading for trouble. And here's the critical part. The law follows the piece of paper. That's it. The legal system doesn't know you got a divorce. It doesn't know you had a huge fight with that friend. It only knows what the document says. So if that outdated power of attorney still has your ex's name on it, well, they legally have the power to make financial decisions for you, whether you'd want that today or not. And that brings us to our final scenario, number 5. This one is driven by something I think we can all relate to: good old-fashioned procrastination. Yeah, this is what it looks like when that calm, thoughtful planning we all want to do gets thrown out the window and replaced by a desperate, last-minute scramble. It's all urgency and stress. I've seen this happen so many times. A surgery gets put on the calendar or a health issue just pops up out of nowhere, and suddenly there's this mad dash. And when you rush big decisions like this, mistakes get made. Things get overlooked. It's almost guaranteed. Okay, so after all those grim scenarios, here's the turn. And please listen closely, because this is the most important part of this whole explainer. Every single one of those painful, stressful, and expensive situations we just covered is not just preventable, but often easily preventable.
So let's flip this around and talk about the solutions. And you're probably going to be surprised at just how simple they are. This doesn't take some kind of complex legal magic, just a little bit of intentional action.
And this right here, this lays it out so clearly. For every single one of those big, painful problems, there is a straightforward, simple solution. A named beneficiary stops an account from being frozen. A simple will prevents those awful family fights. A healthcare directive brings clarity to a crisis. It's really just about matching the right, simple tool to the right problem.
So, okay, we've gone through the problems, we've seen the solutions. What's the big takeaway here? What's the one thing you really need to walk away with?
I really want you to let this sink in for a second. The biggest mistake isn't making an imperfect plan. The biggest mistake, the one that triggers all those terrible scenarios we talked about, is doing nothing. It's having no plan at all. You don't need perfection to avoid these problems. You just need to take action.
So I'm going to leave you with that question to think about. A simple, intentional step is really all it takes to protect the people you care about from all this. What will your first step be? And just a quick reminder, this explainer is for informational purposes only and is not legal advice. Thanks so much for joining me.